That's right. Monday Night Football reaction, baby. Chicago Bears, New England Patriots. And boy, this game did not go the way a lot of people thought it might go. Chicago ends up with the win here, 33-14 over New England. This was an interesting game. Interesting in a lot of different ways. Interesting for what it's going to mean for both teams moving forward. And I think there's going to be a lot of interesting questions about that. Look, New England, this was an interesting one because they started with Mac Jones, first game back for Mac Jones, and he did not deliver. He came out 3 for 6 for 13 yards and an interception, quarterback rating of 16.7, and they end up sitting him down and bringing in Bailey Zappi. And look, for all the momentum that Zappi's had, he came into this game and looked like he was going to be a hero. Chicago could have run away with it early on and didn't end up happening. But then the tide started to turn, and the real story tonight is going to be that Bears defense. Bailey Zappi, after a strong start, ends 14 of 22 for 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 67.4. So, again, not really where the team would have been hoping that he was going to be either. So, this was really just a kind of a nothing game for the Patriots. They just could not seem to get anything going. And honestly, the real story for sure is going to be that Bears defense, because you look at New England's total passing yards, 17 of 28, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, total combined quarterback rating of 54.5. So you think, okay, well, they couldn't pass the ball well. Maybe they ran the ball well. No, 19 carries for 70 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. They did have 1 rushing touchdown, but they just could not get things moving on the ground either. And again, this was because of that attacking Bears defense. And it was really impressive to see what the Bears were able to put together as a game plan against this Patriots team. And they clearly came in with a game plan. Justin Fields honestly may have just played his best game, certainly of this season. Wasn't great on paper, but man, he did exactly what needed to be done for them to be able to win this game. He ends 13 of 21 for 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 85.2. So again, not a legendary performance by any stretch, but man, did the job, stepped up, when needed. Also had 14 carries for 82 yards and a rushing touchdown. So, you look at what he brought to the table, and you're talking about, somewhere 250 yards or so of total offense, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing, 1 interception. So, look, the guy did what he needed to do to win the game. It was a pretty complete game for him, and they had a good game plan against this Patriots team. They executed it extremely well, and that's really the only thing that you can ask in this scenario. And again, this was not on paper. Nobody thought this was going to be a walk in the park for Chicago of all teams, and they end up winning 33-14. And again, very much on the back of that Bears defense. Receivers had a total of 13 receptions for 179 yards and a touchdown. So that average is almost 14 yards per catch, which, very solid. But man, story of the night, I got to say, would be Roquan Smith. I mean, this guy had 12 total tackles, 8 solo, 1 sack, a tackle for a loss, a pass defense, a quarterback hit. I mean, he pretty much did everything that you could possibly ask him to do. And this is why this guy's, one of the biggest names in the league. And of course, you see all the lights in the background are orange for the Bears victory here. Lots of guys, came up with a lot of tackles. And at the end of the night, when you really look at those final stats, there are going to be some things that you don't see. For instance, they only had 1 sack as a team, the Bears defense, and 2 tackles for a loss. So you would say, okay, man, they may, not a ton, but look, 7 pass defenses. They had 3 quarterback hits. They were just, buzzing around. They ended up overall with 3 interceptions as a defense for 52 yards. So really, really, really solid defensive play by the Bears. And, again, this is the type of game that if the Bears can continue to play like this, and that's a big if, but if they can, this is the type of thing that really starts to be important as we start moving into the cold weather months. So this is a ball control offense. This is a strong running game and smart passing. I mean, those things, if you can string those things together, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And I can tell you this, anytime you go out, the Bears rushed for 243 yards tonight, nearly 5.5 yards per carry, and then 2 rushing touchdowns as well. One by Justin Fields, one by David Montgomery. So look, at the end of the day, anytime you're able to go out and run the ball 45 times for almost 250 yards, well, you got to like your chances of winning that game no matter what. And so anytime you find yourself in that situation as a team, particularly as the Bears, where you don't quite yet know what you're going to have at that quarterback position, Justin Fields very much a work in progress. But at the same time, these are winnable games. And look, very, very sneakily here, the Bears are 3-4. So they're not out of it. It's important for people to kind of understand that they're absolutely not out of it at this point, in this early stage. As this winter starts to set in and these, the cold weather starts to happen and all of those types of things, again, what they did tonight, that could be a perfect game plan for them moving forward in order to be able to be successful. And again, we know in that division that they play in, I mean, it's a lot of cold weather teams. We know that, right? It's Minnesota, it's Green Bay and Chicago, so these are cold weather teams. And honestly, if you look at those teams, man, Chicago's in a position to be able to run the ball better than any of them if they can really stick to that game plan and just be disciplined with running the ball and really playing that ball control, grinding offense. That just becomes more and more important as the season goes on and the cold weather starts to set in. So, again, there's a lot of things that can start to come together for the Bears very quietly. No one would have expected this. Nobody thought something like this would happen. But the reality is they played the game they needed to play to beat New England. And on the flip side of that coin, New England is also 3-4. And man, right now, those two 3-4 teams, they feel very differently. They feel different from each other. Chicago's 3-4 with a ton of momentum right now. Again, winning a game that nobody thought they could win. And then you look at New England, and man, they still now have this weird quarterback controversy. I don't think they know what they're going to do yet as it pertains to Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. They got some real decisions to make there. Personally, I feel like the team has looked better and looked different with Zappi on the field than Mac Jones. But at the same time, I mean, look, they've invested a lot in Mac Jones. They have a lot of faith and confidence in Mac Jones and his ability to get things going. No reason to believe that they will stay with Bailey Zappi long term. But at the same time, if this Mac Jones injury, continues to hang around, it's the perfect excuse for them to keep going with Bailey Zappi. And again, Zappi had a strong start tonight and then fell off, and certainly, you started to see the interceptions pile up and things like that, which are just killers. I mean, Zappi threw 2 picks himself. That makes it really tough. You're going to have a very hard time winning games against dominant running ball control teams if you're going to turn the ball over. And we've seen this for years from the Baltimore Ravens, from the Pittsburgh Steelers, these types of teams that can just grind you down, and you make a mistake, it's hard to recover from it. And 3 interceptions, I mean, that's hard for any team to be able to overcome. So there's a lot to be said for what's been accomplished, tonight by the Chicago Bears. And again, I think it could be really an exciting turn of events for them. This is a game, again, nobody thought they could possibly win, but it becomes a very impactful game for you as an organization. Because again, you're dealing with a young head coach, you're dealing with a very young quarterback, a young, inexperienced team, not just an inexperienced team, but a team that's inexperienced at winning. And that's an important difference. So when you can come out on a night like today, on Monday Night Football, and really make a statement like this and a statement win like this, boy, this starts to really help the confidence of those players, right? They really start to buy in to what head coach Matt Eberflus is putting together, because you see this and you go, okay, man, it's working, right? We're starting to see a little bit of progress. Again, right now, 3-4 really doesn't look that bad in that division. I mean, you had a Green Bay Packers team that lost to the Washington Commanders on Sunday. This division's very much wide open. At this point, you look at it and you think the Vikings are probably the cream of the crop in that division. But, man, the Bears are hanging around. They're hanging around. So, as it stands right now, I think they're in a good position moving forward. If they can just stick with it and be disciplined, that's going to be the most important thing for them. So, look, this is it's kind of the haves and the have-nots, right? Because you've got the New England Patriots, and obviously everyone knows their history and Bill Belichick and what he's been able to do over time with that team. They're going to make some adjustments. They're going to start to figure things out. But, as we start to move in, man, we're through 7 weeks of the season at this point. And so you really start to see who teams are and more importantly, who they aren't. And I think the Bears really can springboard off of this and create an identity for themselves. And it's really honestly kind of falls in line with that old school Bears football and that old school Bears mentality of just really strong defense and running the ball. And you do those two things well, and good things just tend to happen for you, right? You end up with being able to control a lot of the game. And as long as you don't make mistakes and create something that you can't recover from. And again, Justin Fields did have an interception tonight, so you'd like to not see that. But outside of that, if you can just continue to control that ball and continue to play smart football and really play to your strengths. They're not going to be some high flying crazy offense. We know that's not going to be what happens for the Chicago Bears. That's not them as a team. The team that they can be with the personnel that they have, if they can just, again, stay disciplined. And we're seeing that Matt Eberflus, influence on the defense right now, because we're really seeing them come into their own. Again, they have an absolute rock star in Roquan Smith. And when you can anchor the defense with phenomenal play like that and force a lot of turnovers and run the ball for almost 250 yards, they just have a ton of things that lined up for them. Not every week's going to be like this. But to be able to come out and do it on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots, I think we got to say that they probably put some teams on notice. So it's going to be really interesting to see the future as we move forward. It's going to be really interesting to see this development of Justin Fields. There have been most times Justin Fields has looked lost on the football field this season, last season, and very little progress. But now, you see a night like tonight and you go, okay, if he can just do that, he doesn't have to be this, he doesn't have to be a Kyler Murray, a Lamar Jackson, or, any of these people. If he can just do this, play within himself and not make the big mistakes. Again, he was only averaging 8.5 yards, per completion, but 13 of 21 for 179 yards. You're not going to blow the world away with that. But it's exactly what the Bears need. You pair that with another 250 rushing yards, and you start to say, okay, not half bad. I mean, that's 500 yards of offense. That's a pretty strong situation to be in. So, I'm sorry, 400 yards of offense. But regardless, for the Bears, that's winning football. And that's the most important thing to understand. So, very interesting game, very interesting to see how this is going to continue to play out moving forward for both teams. And this was a fun game, very interesting game. And I'll be curious to see how this thing plays out moving forward. The Bears could be one of those teams, again, if they can dial it in and keep playing consistently, they could end up being one of those teams that just starts to hang around and hang around and hang around. And, they might be a tough out later in the year, particularly once the ground gets frozen and the snow starts falling. The Chicago Bears could be a tough out. So, going to be a good one. So we've got a great game coming up ahead as well. Thursday Night Football this week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baltimore Ravens in Tampa. Should be a really good one as well. So listen, you get the Horn Show. We're bringing it to you all the time. We got a live show coming tomorrow night, Tuesday night live. We will be live streaming on YouTube. We're going to be having that. Will be around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We've got a live TikTok pre-show that's probably going to go on around 7:15 or so. May extend a little bit longer than that as well, but start around 7:15. And look, man, I highly recommend that you like, subscribe, follow, and turn on your notifications, because we have a constant stream of content coming out all the time. And this is not just a sports show. I want to be super clear with everyone about that. We do talk some sports when there's sports to be talked about. We talk about a ton of things that are absolutely unrelated to sports. And I can tell you, tomorrow night, we've got some really interesting stories about Kanye West's Donda Academy that he started for students out in California. We've got some crazy things from Reddit that we saw this week. A lot of just interesting news stories, giving our takes on things, giving some advice, asking for some advice. So highly recommend that you check us out. Again, You Get the Horns Show. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok. Those are the main places to be able to find our content. And we really hope you check us out. So that'll wrap it up for tonight. Hope everybody has a great night. We look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks, everyone.